We've been keeping in touch with the Stretford Paddock's Jay Motty, game by game. As I said, he's probably refusing to answer the calls, but God bless him, he's joined us today. Hello, Jay.
I think I'm just getting immune to it all now. I'm getting so used to coming on and chatting to you after a deflating result. It just melts into one. Yeah, I mean, you nailed it there. You sort of said about the sort of the Glazer effect and how it's been felt off the pitch. And I think we're still seeing the remnants of that on the pitch as well. We know we need strengthening. And yeah, it's just the season sort of petering out. And the big worry for me is, I think I say this every time I come on, is we've got that FA Cup final looming. And if you keep losing games going into that, it worries me. It really does, because Manchester City, they're capable of not just winning that game, but absolutely embarrassing us. So it could be a bad end to the season, and a season that's already been pretty abysmal could get a lot worse.
Yeah, it might be the only route into Europe as well.
Well, I mean, it's looking, with the remaining games. I mean, Newcastle at home, as I said, I just don't know. I mean, I thought Manchester United might turn up yesterday, and Arsenal weren't at their best, but they really didn't need to be.
Say they didn't turn up. I mean, it wasn't like the Palace game where they were pathetic.
I mean, it was quite frustrating. I mean, maybe Garnacho symbolised it. Getting in good positions. Finishing wasn't good enough. Final ball wasn't good enough. That's when he wasn't falling over. It was a bit hapless. I mean, at least he was giving it a go, but I mean, it wasn't quite enough, was it?
No, and in many ways, this annoys me more than the games where we do get steamrolled. When I see a team like Arsenal come to United and all the history we've got between United and Arsenal, and the fact that there was a chance here to really sort of restore a bit of pride, remind everyone what we can do. And Arsenal, for me, it felt like they didn't get out of second gear. They weren't at the best, but then they got the goal relatively early, and they kept us quite comfortable. It was quite comfortable for them. I don't think we tested their goalkeeper, really. I think we had 2 shots on target, which were glorified passbacks. And you mentioned there Garnacho, and I feel sorry for Garnacho. He's 19 years old. He's being played every single week. He should be rotated. He should be rested. If he was a club that was functioning properly, he'd have probably played half the amount of games he has played. And that's not a criticism of his ability. That's just where he's at in his career. But he's playing week in, week out, starting nearly every game, finishing most games as well, because of a lack of other options. And, it just sort of highlights the problems we've got. We're relying on kids, because we haven't got the experienced players to step up. I know Rashford's injured, but even when he's fit, Garnacho still plays. So it just shows you the amount of problems we've got, really, on and off the pitch, like I said earlier.
Well, I thought Wayne Rooney's comments on Sky were interesting, where he felt there's a couple of convenient hamstrings in that dressing room with boys thinking about the Euros and the Cup final and wondering whether they should have another week to make sure it's completely 100%. Look, I don't know if he's probably still got people in that dressing room he speaks to. Actually, some people in there he even played with. So maybe it's based on intelligence, or maybe it's based on a hunch. But it's not great to hear that from one of the club's great players, is it?
No, it's not. Listen, I love Wayne Rooney. He's an absolute legend. But I don't know whether that's just him looking at it through his own eyes in how he was as a player. We know Wayne Rooney would have played. He did. You remember the game against Bayern Munich where he picked up that knock and he carried on playing, and then he ended up missing the rest of the season. He might just look at it and go, some of these players just don't fancy it. I don't know if he's got any information. It doesn't quite ring true to me, that. I think if you look at some of the players that are out, Bruno Fernandes is never injured. Then you've got other players, he said, well, they might not fancy it because they might want to keep themselves fresh for the Euros. I think a lot of the players at United, it's in 50-50 whether they'll go to the Euros. They need a good end to the season. You look at someone like Marcus Rashford, for example. Is he on the plane at the minute? I don't think he is. I think he'd have to prove himself against Gareth Southgate. Luke Shaw's missed nearly all, well, not nearly all, but half the season. There's question marks about him. Harry Maguire, there's question marks there. So if they are sort of resting themselves for the Euros, I think that's a bit of a stupid thing to do, because there's a good chance they won't even make the plane.
Are we going to see Luke Shaw? I mean, from an England point of view, we're all kind of slightly looking at it a touch wider. Are we going to see him for the end of the season? He's had this setback. They're hoping, he said, maybe he'll make the last game and make the FA Cup final, but time's running out for him, and he's a very important England player, isn't he?
No, he is. I think his performances for England have been excellent, and he's one of the more reliable players that Gareth Southgate's got. So I think if he's fit, he probably would make it. I don't know if he will, though, because he's had so many injury issues. Last season, I think he played quite a lot of games, but if you go back a little bit further, over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, he has missed around half the games. So there's obviously just ongoing issues there. Listen, from a Manchester United point of view, I'd love to see Luke Shaw back in the team. We're having to shuffle things around with the lower left back, although I thought he did quite well against Bukayo Saka yesterday. And obviously, Aaron Wan-Bissaka has played there, but we looked so much better with Luke Shaw in the team. The season's nearly over, and we're still waiting to see if he's going to come. If he's going to be fit. Sorry, it's just yeah, it's really frustrating from a United point of view, let alone an England one.
On a note of optimism, though, it's been 11 years since Fergie. Sir Jim has come in, and he's made moves that are going to help United. Dan Ashworth's good. Jason Wilcox is good. They will improve that recruitment, which has been so poor.
It's whether is so damaged, Ten Hag, by what has happened at the tail end of the season. I mean, can you make a case? I mean, look, he's a very seasoned coach. He's done very well, but it just feels like it's going to be tarnished by what's gone on.
His Ajax team were a great team. They never, I don't even think in one game they've played like that Ajax team played.
Yeah, it seems to be running away from him a little bit, Jay.
It does, and I think almost every week I come on your show and make the case for I'd like to see him be given an opportunity under Ineos. But every week we lose, or we have a deflated performance or a deflated result, and it's harder to make that case. I think I said last time, I actually feel now it might be too far. I think they might be looking elsewhere. And if you are going to spend the amount of money that Ineos are going to spend and have already spent to have control of the footballing department, and as you've already mentioned, they bring in the likes of Dan Ashworth, I think that's going to end up happening eventually. Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada, are you going to bring in all these changes and stick with a manager who's losing lots of football matches? Probably not. So it is a shame. And at one point, especially in the last season or towards the end of last season, it looked like we finally got the right man, post Sir Alex Ferguson, after so many false starts. But it's just been a bit of a disaster this season, and I'd be surprised if he survives it.
Jay, good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks.
Jay Motty there from the Stretford Paddock on YouTube. Go and check it out. Yeah, tough times at the moment, but, it's cyclical and all that. And as you said, they're putting in place some decent building blocks on the recruitment front. But it's true, they have wasted an awful lot of money in the transfer market.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons, 1 till 4. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.